The Lipton Players Championship from the island paradise of Key Biscayne, women's singles, has already been decided. Monica Seles is the champion. In the men's draw, that's how things look. Tomorrow in the best-of-5 set final, Stefan Edberg will take on Andre Agassi in a repeat of their 4-set final, or will it be a repeat? Anyway, it's a repeat of the matchup of the event in Indian Wells in California. Here's a look back at last night with Stefan Edberg playing against Emilio Sanchez, one of the 3 Sanchez family members, all of whom have done so well, including Arantxa, who won the French Open. This is from last night's semi-final match. Edberg playing outstanding serve and volley tennis.
He certainly was, and that's just the way he likes to play. He loves fast courts, even though one day his secret dream is to win the French on clay.
This is Sanchez serving at this point. A break of serve for the first time in the match for Edberg. That's how it happened. And again, set point, first set.
Never stops the pressure. Unrelenting. Very offensive player.
So that aggressive style wins Edberg the first set, easily 6-1. The second set was a lot tougher, but still Edberg serving and volleying.
Who said he didn't have any touch?
And now, match point. Sanchez serving at 5-6. It is wide, and Stefan Edberg is in the final in straight sets, 6-1, and then 7-5. And had a chance to talk to Stefan Edberg after that, Arthur, and he said quite frankly that he was looking forward. He was very well aware of the fact that at the end of this tournament, if he wins tomorrow in that best-of-5 set final, he'll be number 2 in the world.
Well, it's very difficult for him not to know that. The press keeps reminding him of it. And, of course, Boris Becker, who is number 2, is right here and publicly stated at the beginning of the year, as we said earlier, that he really wanted to be number 1. But looks like Edberg may get there before Boris.
I have a prediction. I think that Edberg may be number 1 by the end of this year. The man that he has to play tomorrow in this best-of-5 set final here on ABC is Andre Agassi. Let's take a look at how he played his semi-final match earlier yesterday afternoon against Jay Berger of the USA.
And more importantly, Jay Berger of Florida. We watch this exchange. What some reflexes there from both players. Berger winning that encounter, but Agassi was just a bit too much.
Both players basically baseliners. Jay Berger plays a little more defensive tennis. Agassi, rather like Monica Seles, just pounds away off both wings.
That's right, and certainly Jay Berger would have the weirdest service preparation of any player on the tour, man or woman. Little drop shot here, but trouble. Not over yet.
Agassi tried a few of those drop shots. That's Nick Bollettieri and brother Philip. That's Agassi's brother Philip. Watch on.
There's that service with no wind-up. Starts over the shoulder and then boom.
And watch Agassi here on this final. He will hit that almost around the post.
It was around the post, and that's legal. Another drop shot, a bit high.
Match point now for Agassi. Agassi wins it in 3 sets, as you see, 5-7, 6-1, 6-1. He's in the final. He'll play Edberg in our best-of-5 set final tomorrow here on ABC. We'll be back with more from the Lipton in a moment. Live coverage of the Lipton from Key Biscayne, Miami. Stefan Edberg playing against Andre Agassi. $179,000 at stake here. Andre Agassi, one of the hottest players on the tour. In fact, he has only lost the last 2 matches this year.
Yes, that's a very good 90 match record so far, 15-2. He obviously wants to see his ATP world ranking go up, but in order to do that, to go up there where Becker and Lindell and Stefan Edberg happen to be, he's got to win a major, a Grand Slam event.
This is a repeat of a match that was played 2 weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago exactly, at Indian Wells in California. And we talked to Agassi about playing against Edberg. Here's what he said.
This time coming around, we're not in the altitude, we're in sea level, which is going to help me a little bit, I think. It'll stop his serve from really jumping on me a lot. And I think that'll give me a little bit of an advantage, but I'm still going to go out there, have to go out there and just do what it takes to put him away. I will be confident simply because of the match we had last week. And I'm just going to go out there, give it my best, and hope it rolls my way.
We'll find out pretty soon. As I said, best of 5 sets. Now, this is the first match at the Lipton played best of 5. This used to be a tournament where they played almost all best of 5 set matches from the beginning. It was a Grand Slam format tournament. That's changed because it's a 10-day event now, no longer a 2-week event. There's some of the statistics on Edberg. He also, Arthur, has had a darn good year so far.
Yes, he has. And I think him being so close to supplanting Boris Becker, as you said earlier in this week, Cliff, if he wins this match, he will be number 2 on the ATP computer. And that's something to have in the forefront of your mind, not the back.
It has been gusty throughout this championship. It is a little breezy today as well. And, of course, that affects all players. Also Edberg. And we talked to him about the wind and how it affects his game.
If you have a high toss like I have, obviously it's going to affect me more. When I'm serving, I find it sort of harder to play volley than from the baseline when it's windy. But, you know, some days you feel very comfortable with the wind. You don't really think about it. Some days you may get off to a bad start. You start to get angry with the wind, but you really have yourself to blame. You just got to make sure you move your feet and use enough room over the net.
It is, as I said, just slightly breezy today. That probably favors Stefan Edberg, if anybody. Agassi, on the other hand, says that as far as he's concerned, it is sea level here, and he thinks that that serve of Edberg's rather is not going to get up, which is something that really bothers players. Let's take a look at Andre Agassi in a little more detail and look at his strengths and weaknesses, Arthur.
Well, I think he's very quick. Hits the ball well on the rise. One of the few players who can do that very effectively. And as I said earlier, passing shots are really going to be the key to whether or not he can win today. And also, sometimes his concentration wavers. He's lost the first set in 3 of the last matches he's played here, but he's right there.
Quickly, where do you put his volley in the strength and weaknesses department?
So-so. So-so.
Now let's take a look at Stefan Edberg, the man that he's playing against today. Boy, I wonder what you said about weaknesses on him, because this guy's playing awfully well.
He's a whirlwind, no question about it. He's a very powerful serve volley game. Covers the court extremely well for a man as tall as he is, and he's a man on a mission. Again, he could be #1 player this year, #2 in about 3 hours.
There's a certain Jan-Erik Lundqvist who is the best player from Sweden. He's here, and he had heard us, as you look at Paulo Pereira, who's the chair umpire for today's final, saying, Arthur, that, at least I said anyway, I thought that he might be the #1 player. What I said actually was that I would be not be surprised if Edberg was a #1 player in the world by the end of this year. I would be very surprised if he was not by the end of next year. And they said to me, Lundqvist, that he's from Sweden, of course, he's doing the television for Sweden. He said, we in Sweden agree with you. I think he's going to do it.
Modestly put.
Again, best of 5 sets live coverage of the Lipton Players Championship from Key Biscayne, the Island Paradise. There is not a seat to be had in this International Tennis Center today. It is jammed.
Take another peek at that. Edberg was drawn to the net involuntarily, and he stood just to the left of the center service line, paid the price. Enough of an opening right there.
Ooh, called wide and corrected immediately, which was the right thing to do because it was on the line, no question.
It certainly did. We are seated just above that line. See, Edberg leads 2-0. They last met 2 weeks ago at the Newsweek in Indian Wells.
Contrast in styles, these two, on court and off. Agassi, a very flashy personality. Edberg, very low-key. Both seem to be taking their time, Martha, feeling their way around it. Agassi can hit the ball harder than he is now, and probably will before this thing is out. On the other hand, Edberg can attack sooner, and also probably will.
Yes. And speaking of taking their time, Cliff, the new rule for the ATP Tour in 1990 is 25 seconds between points. It used to be 30 seconds, so play should be speeded up a bit. Well, we all know Edberg's backhand is better than his forehand. That was a sterling example right there.
First game break point for Edberg. Contrast in styles on the court, of course, the big return of serve of Agassi, and then the big serve and volley of Edberg. So the strength of Edberg playing into the strength of Agassi.
Talking about the offensive-ness of Edberg and the defensive mastery of Andre Agassi. But you know, in this tournament so far, you look at the aces, Agassi's had 17, Stefan Edberg 4.
Agassi opens the score in this match. It's 1-0 in the first set of this best of 5-set match. Edberg serving his first serve point of the match. He trails 1-0. Strength to strength after the big return of Andre Agassi, the big serve of Stefan Edberg. Agassi is from Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where he was born, and he still lives there. Vegas, Nevada, as I said, 19 years old. Seems like he's been around for a long time, and he has as a tennis player. It was 2 years ago that he really made his move in '88. Won 6 tournaments. In so doing, though, he didn't beat many top 5 ranked players,
No.
and so people said it was kind of, you know, that he kind of dodged the top players that year.
Right. In fact, his record against top 5 players is, I think, a losing one. Agassi steps in so early, and with 2 hands on his left backhand side, sort of flicks it in. Watch Edberg come in just to the right of the center service line, but it's still not enough because Agassi took the ball too early.
Tough to lob Edberg. Now Pam Shriver is at courtside, closer to the action than we are, Pam.
Well, actually, I'm sitting about 10 feet behind Andre Agassi's chair in the changeover, and right before the first game started, he was tying a rubber band on his strings to help with the vibration, and then he took his wallet out of his pocket before the first point was played.
That's to count his earnings, yes.
There it is. There is the rubber band.
is in his eyes right now in this game.
Let's see where he serves on this side, Cliff. Sometimes from the backhand side, Agassi goes all the way over to the double sideline to serve, but no, he's not doing it now. He may do it, though, before the match is out.
Stefan Edberg, born in Västervik, Sweden, who lives now, when he's not playing tennis, London, England. He's 24 years old. One heck of a nice guy, too, by the way. Very gentle,
Yes.
low-key, down-to-earth personality. That approach shot is long, 30-15. Agassi, by the way, has not ducked the top players in the world by any means this year. He beat Boris Becker in the semi-final at the Indian Wells easily, 6-4, 6-1. And then Edberg beat him in a very close match.
Just wide. Well, the advice that Nick Bollettieri mentioned before the match started seems to be coming to pass, because Agassi definitely seems to be letting up a bit on the speed of his serve to get the first one in, and the radar gun shows his serves at about 80 miles an hour, no more.
To Nick Bollettieri that you have been looking at, as you look at the radar gun, that's the instrument that measures the velocity of the serve. Last serve was 73, so as you said, he's not putting a lot behind it. He's Philip Agassi, that's Andre's brother. Go right over Key Biscayne on the way into Miami Airport. This is not exactly Flushing Meadow, but they do come over every so often.
Tough to resist making that comparison.
And you all have mentioned the speed of the serve. I want it pointed out that Monica Seles' serve yesterday most times were in the low 90s.
Talking about the slow speed of the first serve, we should also add that not only is it slower than it normally would be, but it's higher over the net. Agassi is making a concentrated attempt to put as much spin on his serve as possible to keep Edberg from chipping and coming in. He wants to keep Edberg away from the net.
He got 3 out of first 4 serves in when they played at Indian Wells 2 weeks ago also. Good numbers. Miles an hour on the second serve for Agassi.
Forget the speed.
Yeah.
Speed means absolutely nothing now with Agassi. This is really a finger roll, tennis's version of a roll, because Agassi wants the ball to come over high, looped, so that Stefan won't even think about coming to the net.
And it's working so far.
It is working. It's working very well. I think it's a very sound strategy, one that he did not use in Indian Wells 2 weeks ago.
It is such an interesting strategic match here because you know Edberg would like to get in as soon as he can. Agassi's got to find a way to keep him back. It is working so far. For the young man from Las Vegas, 3 games to love, a break in the first set. The temperature, of course, so that
118
gauge, yeah, but it's right there next to the court. Transantarctica at 4:30, following tennis today here on ABC. Again, remember that thermometer there is suffering from the reflection of the sun off the court as well, so that it kind of skews things some. Edberg serving, trailing, love 3.
The thermometer might skew things a little bit, but I'll tell you what, where their feet are is every bit as hot as what that thermometer is reading. Agassi is adjusting his rubber band there on his racket, and he takes this return so early, weight going forward, and just pounds the ball. No wonder the rubber band snapped.
That's long. He has volleyed with such authority, such precision throughout this tournament. Now he'll miss a few, but in general, when he gets close enough to the net, Edberg, and the ball is on his racket, you got to look out. 30 all. Ooh, he was going right into the body.
But that's where it's supposed to go. If you have someone at point-blank range, you hit it right at their right hip, if they're right-handed. That's where you hit it. Now watch Edberg. It's a half volley across the net, and he has to stand there at point-blank range after this backhand drop volley just gets over.
He's trying to protect
saying,
himself.
Thank you.
This is game point for Edberg to get on the board here in the first set.
Well, that's what you can do with 2 hands, because when you get there, you can hit the ball early, just as he did. Now watch this slide forehand approach shot. Very short backswing. Right down the line for Agassi.
What a great shot. Doesn't back out either, does he?
No, Edberg now also batting below 500 at the net. 7 for 15.
Deuce.
Ooh, that looked wide, but wasn't called wide, but Agassi won the point anyway, outright with a passing shot.
2 down the line for clean winners. Again, with such extraordinary precision, and a second break point opportunity here for him. He already has 1 break.
And in this match, Stefan Edberg has been at the back of the court much more than what he would like, and obviously it's because he respects Andre Agassi's return and passing shots. However, when Edberg's at his most confident, he is at the net, even coming in behind first serves. I think later on in this match, he will start attacking some of those slower first serves from Agassi.
It's really outstanding stuff, isn't it? That time on the backhand side, he went cross-court for the first time, and that surprised Edberg and set up the volley, or I should say the passing shot from Agassi. Second break point in this game.
Edberg hasn't had any momentum of any sort yet, even a little streak of it, except for going up 30-love in this game. You need that momentum to give you a little confidence boost.
Andre Agassi is the one with a confidence boost because he knows that Stefan Edberg loves to serve and volley, and on the last couple of first serves, Stefan Edberg served and stayed back. So Agassi's thinking, yeah, I got him just where I want him already.
Another break point. Third of this game. That'll do it, and that should do it for the set. 2 breaks of serve, 4 games to love.
It should.
Coverage of this match going to Germany, to Sweden, to Australia, to Italy, and I took a little informal poll of all of those folks who were calling the matches for them, and they said Edberg in 4.
Well, that's also what I thought, but I might change my mind in about 5 minutes.
Edberg making a comeback in this game anyway. Agassi serve love 30, up 4 games to love.
It's just incredible to me how he can camp, he meaning Agassi, camp on the baseline and trade ground strokes like those coming from Stefan Edberg and keep the ball in the court. His timing is just uncommon.
Matt Olsen is Stefan Edberg's biggest admirer, his girlfriend. Oh yeah.
This may look, or have looked, a bit more casual than you thought it was, but I think Agassi was just waiting to see what sort of reply he was going to get from Edberg, and Edberg was way off court.
Still break point. We'll be back with more after this word from our ABC station. This is Edberg serving, trailing 1-4 first set.
Edberg pins it back into his backhand corner. Edberg just gets to it, and now he has to commit himself, and he doesn't move over to his left quickly enough. It's really a sitting duck, because Agassi could have gone the other way.
Solid volley.
One reason why Stefan Edberg might be having a little trouble early in this match is he played his semifinal match at night. And it's a lot different, obviously, than coming out during the day. So it might take him maybe a first set to get acclimated once again to the bright lights out here. Bright natural lights.
Speaking of bright lights, I think the biggest problem in a stadium like this, even though it's minimized to the extent that they can do it, but all the white shirts in the crowd. Especially on your serve when you have to toss the ball up into the air and look up into the air.
It's not a good background, is it?
Not ideal. Such a small ball.
And then they gave a bunch of yellow hats out also earlier in the week. I mean, free for people. I guess the first 1,000 folks that showed up one night, people have still got them on. And that's even worse because, of course, there's nothing that is yellow in the background because that's the same color as the balls. A few whistles from the crowd. Edberg also shaking his head. He wasn't happy with that wide call on the serve. It's 30-all, big point.
I think the ball was a fault.
On that white background subject, on the women's tour, we have a rule that states that any banner or any sign at the back of the court must be a dark color. But we don't say anything about people's shirts.
The men have the same rule, but on a day like today, it's not much you can do about it. Difficult.
Break point for a third breaker serve in a row. In fact, Edberg hasn't held serve yet in the match. Five games to one. Agassi, who has broken Edberg 3 times, will serve now for the set. Pam, what's the wind story down there? Is it breezy at all?
There's a slight breeze, but it's the calmest day yet of this 10-day championship. And Stefan Edberg has gone over to get his towel, and I was looking at his hand, and he's got it taped up a lot on all his fingers on his right hand, and I wonder if there's something there that's bothering him, or whether that's just a common practice.
I think Edberg on the backhand side should switch to underspin. Everything's topspin right now, and the ball would at least skid a bit, be a little lower. Well, Agassi tried a slip of the wrist topspin for backhand over lob, rather. I guess that's what you might call it. Seemed to do it at the last minute. Didn't work. Whatever.
15-all.
Although he has that shot.
Yes,
when he has time, he can do it. Yes. That seemed to be a last-minute decision.
He can hit it over either side too, by the way. That rather errant backhand from Edberg, and we have 2 set points for Agassi. First set, best of 5, remember.
And as they also say, Edberg seems to have gone off the rails.
Yeah, he's missing a lot more than he has been throughout this championship, and Agassi has won the first set. Edberg will start out serving the second set. He lost the first. Thank you. Taking his time for just an extra moment or two to give the folks behind Agassi a chance to take their seats. This place is jammed. There is not a seat available here.
And Edberg is serving with new balls.
12,500 seats, the International Tennis Center. Temporary seats in the main. In fact, it is one of the big issues here at this tournament, whether the tournament is going to stay here on Key Biscayne or not, and it revolves around the construction of a permanent stadium, something that some of the residents of Key Biscayne are against. very good news for Stefan Edberg, is it? He's lost one match after winning the first set this year, but that's it. Edberg holds on. First game of the second set. In fact, that's the first game that Edberg has won on his own serve in the match. Agassi won the first, 6-1. We'll be back. Edberg has one game in the second set. He lost the first set. Agassi has won the first point of this game. It's 15-love.
To say Agassi is playing picture-perfect tennis against Edberg today as we look at their relative numbers in the first set. Not too much there except errors. 20 for Edberg, 8 for Agassi. The fact that Edberg did not hold serve.
With the tension of his strings on his racket, he's pounded it a couple of times against his hand and just sort of shook his head. And before the match, I saw him run from the locker room to the stringers with a couple of rackets to be restrung.
Just inside the baseline.
And there's the return of serve play that Stefan Edberg needs to do more often, especially if Agassi is going to be hitting a first serve that doesn't have a lot of pace.
He has such a good natural flowing movement to the net, doesn't he?
So you're watching Edberg return serve. A little bit of an open stance forehand, but his volley is so good. His court coverage is so complete.
But then he guides that forehand long, and Agassi has opened his score in the second set. Even 1 game more. First set to Agassi, 6-1. I wonder if our statistician Leo Levin can remember when last, if ever, Edberg has lost a set without winning his serve, even once. I cannot remember.
Well, Leo is scratching his head, so you'll have to dig into his archives for that one. Someone will call us.
Yeah.
They'll call up the studio in New York and tell us.
That's his first double fault. Was almost trying to get into the net before he hit the ball that time.
He was leaning Tower of Pisa there, and it's his 11th double fault of the tournament so far.
Very good stuff from Agassi. He is such an electric player. He's quick. And of course when he gets there, you know, he doesn't mess about with the ball. He really gives it a whack. So a chance here for Agassi to break again. 1 game all, second set, love 30 now. That'll go long, 3 break points.
Well, whatever is in Edberg's mind about what he should be doing, got to change it.
And Olsen again. Super stuff, isn't it? 2 games to 1, break a serve, and 1 set to love Agassi. There's Agassi serving with a lead, 2 games to 1, second set. He won the first.
Look wide from here, I guess.
No call.
Don't hear a call. Watching this exchange. And a quick, short backswing forehand down the line. The scoreboard says Edberg won it.
Edberg, who at the ATP Awards Gala dinner was voted by his peers as the most sporting gentleman on the court. In fact, I think they should just retire the trophy and call it the Edberg Trophy because he's won it a couple of times.
And even when Edberg does come to the net and he wins the point eventually, he's really got to work for it.
Look at that. He's lost 19 games in 11 sets this week. It's amazing. And when he gets on top of you, he's a bulldog. Because the way he plays the ball so early. And by the way, when you play against him, you've really got to be in shape because as flat as he hits the ball, it's kind of like a male monochromatic. You have to cover a lot of court. A ball after it hits the flat is tougher to run down, isn't it, than anything with slice, with at least any spin, with slice or top spin.
You have to be there ahead of time. Ball goes in a straight line. It's not going to be as heavy, though.
Break point.
He's just not happy. He's looking at his racket, looking at his strings. He's missing his coach this week. Tony Pickard is in England, having just had a hip operation. Now, whether or not in a big final like this, he'd like to look over to Tony, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. There may be some of that lack of focus you're talking about in this match, but throughout this week, he has just been all over every point, working very, very hard. Game point. Transantarctica.
No one said not up, so he must have gotten it. So watch this again. He had just put a very short return of serve, and he came and he got it in one bounce. Left Edberg flat-footed, standing in the middle.
He has not had a bad percentage of first serves, Edberg, about the same as throughout the tournament, 3 out of 4, 75%. But listen to this. When he's missed his first serve, he hasn't won a point. Not one. And here is a second serve from Edberg. At 15 all.
$29 to 10. self-explanatory. Nick also mentioned that he thought that if the match went a long time, it would favor Agassi, because most of Agassi's opponents do most of the running. But I think it very well may affect both players. Agassi may get a bit winded too. This match can be drawn out a bit.
It's a close call, that I agree with you. Game point, Edberg. Edberg wins his serve game. It is 3 games to 2. We'll be back with more of the Lipton after this from our ABC stations. A lot has been said about Andre Agassi and his outlook mentally on the game, and we asked about his mental outlook of his game at this point in his career.
I think coming off a year like I had in 1988, I was faced with a lot of growing up to do. I don't know if I was ready for everything that kind of came down on me, the criticism, the expectations of people, expectations I put on myself, and that was real tough. And coming in 1989, my goal was not to do any better than I did in 1988, and I think that reflected in my general attitude to the year. But at the end of that last year, I felt like I had a chance to kind of just get a grip on things, find out, really assess what I want to accomplish, where I want to go. And I think to start this year off, I came in focused and directed, win or lose. I know where I want to be, you know, in 4 or 5 years from now. I have a picture in my mind how I want to be playing, how good I want to be, and I keep taking a step towards that. And if I get beat one day, that's only going to make me stronger for the next time.
15 all in this game.
That's going to be wide.
Sounds off it, doesn't it, when you listen to Andre Agassi talk that he's more at peace with himself in 1990, certainly than he was last year.
Sounds like it, but then again, he comes under heavy criticism for electing not to play Wimbledon this year again for the second time, and also for the Davis Cup controversy. Says he's not going to play for Tom Gorman. And meanwhile, Edberg just has very little touch at all, not in sync in the least with this court.
Agassi with game point. Now, the Wimbledon story has not yet been put entirely to bed yet. He told me that he may indeed play this year, but so he's keeping his options open for that one, and indeed for later rounds of the Davis Cup this year.
Well, we can only have later rounds if we win early rounds.
And of course, the next round of the Davis Cup will be in Czechoslovakia next weekend in Prague.
Watching this again, Edberg decides to go for it, succeeds. Agassi's not at his very best at the net, but he's a very decent, capable volleyer. But that was a pretty good reverse from Edberg. That was like a bad bounce.
Edberg is going to go and the correction. Did he call? Was that a correction, Pam?
Well, I think Stefan Edberg is actually asking the umpire, did someone in the crowd let loose with a very loud whistle.
Okay.
Right as Andre Agassi was putting that point into play, somebody whistled and then screamed something out, and it put Stefan Edberg off.
Of course, things bother you worse when you're behind.
Game point, Agassi. Agassi holds on. He's got a 4 game to 2 left. 4-2 lead rather in the second set, and he won the first set easily 6-1. By the way, Rino Tomasi came up to our commentary position. He did not hear our commentary or our question, but nevertheless he came up and said, of course you remember the last time that Edberg lost 3 serve games in a row. It was to Becker in the first round of Wimbledon, 6-love. So that question has been answered.
Right, and Reno's the authority too.
72% first serve points won, as you can see, 54. That's much lower than normal, and indeed 27%. That's only just about 1 in 4 on second serves. Testimony to the fact he hasn't been serving that well, but more than that, Arthur, that
Agassi's playing exceptionally well. But having said that Agassi is playing exceptionally well, he certainly has not today as yet given the impression that he's trying to play above himself. He has just performed according to plan, well within his own range. He's not had to stretch.
Who the heck was Leo Levin is my question during the first set. 15 all.
Just right. You know, when he does eventually play at Wimbledon, that's going to be a very interesting set of matches to see Andre playing on the grass.
He's only played Wimbledon once, and he's actually never gone down to play the Australian Open, and this is experience that top players, you really need to play those Grand Slam events, and he basically gives up half of the Grand Slam events by not playing Wimbledon or the Australian.
Direction, he'll serve 2. Can you imagine the British tabloids and what a field they have with Agassi?
Yeah, if Agassi thinks the press is a bit critical here, he hasn't seen anything yet. Dangerous, but he almost had no choice. Agassi drew him so wide that he felt he was just a bit too exposed with that much open court left on his forehand side.
Crucial point, 30 all. He's already a breaker serve down. Edberg has got to hold on here in this game, or he'll be 2 serve breaks behind and 1 set down.
Well, he's got to be getting a little tired too. He's doing most of the running. I mean, if Edberg gets to win here, it is literally all uphill the entire time. Fairly long.
So Edberg holds on 4-3 in the second set. Still a breaker serve and 1 set to love for Andre Agassi. We'll be back. Agassi serving ahead 4-3 second set. He won the first set 6-1. There is a delay as
waiting for the crowd to settle down.
Paolo Pereira in the chair asks him to, as you say, settle down.
Look wide from here.
Go down to Pam Shriver, courtside. Pam?
Well, Nick, we want to ask you a question about Andre's Davis Cup position at this point. Do you agree with what's going on?
Well, I think I agree with Andre's decision, but Andre is going to be very much part of the Davis Cup in the future. He wants to play Davis Cup, and I'm hoping that this whole conversation can simmer down and America can win in Czechoslovakia and that Andre will be playing in the future.
What about Wimbledon this year for Andre?
Well, you know, he could surprise us. I hate to say that in a way and not do it, but I don't think it's totally out of the context of going.
And why is he mentally tougher this year? Andre made a comment to us that he just feels mentally tougher. Why is that?
Well, I think he feels so good about everything, and he's lived through, hopefully, the bad times, and the team supported him, and he's doing things now, and the rack has been perfected, and his whole relationship with life has been good, Pam, and he feels good, and physically he's strong, Pam. His new trainer, Gil, is doing a heck of a job.
You're surprised so far with how he's been playing?
Well, you know, Pam, in the beginning we said to slow it down. You know, Stefan wants to hit the ball. He's got his first serves in, which was a little different, and he's passing well, but the fat lady isn't singing yet, so I'm going to just keep praying.
Cliff?
Thanks, the fat lady isn't singing yet, he says. It's 5-3 for Agassi, while Terry was talking to Pam Shriver. As you saw, Andre Agassi won that serve game easily. This is Edberg serving to stay in the second set.
Best of 5 sets, remember, so this match is a long way from being over, although at 2 sets to love for either one of these two players, you wouldn't bet against them. And Agassi is within a game of getting exactly there. First ace.
Only his 5th of the year, 100 miles an hour. Jammed him, which is the right thing to do from the ad court.
Edberg holds on, so when we come back, it will be up to Andre Agassi to serve to win the second set and make it 2 sets to love. Live coverage of this final match of the Lipton Players Championship from Key Biscayne near Miami, Florida, the cruise ship capital of the world. This is Andre Agassi serving for the second set.
Whenever you try to hit an approach shot from outside the court down the middle, problems. It's better off going inside out, draw your opponent out of the court.
The winner will take home a tidy sum of $179,000. The two have already pocketed over $94,000, as you can see. $2 million and then some in total prize money at the tournament. Reset points.
It's a lot of money, too, isn't it? No matter how you look at it. Well, Cliff, now I've changed my mind. Agassi may pull this match out now.
Stefan Edberg is in a lot of trouble, down 2 sets to love, 6-1 and 6-4. He has to win 3 straight sets to take the title at the Lipton.
15 more. In 100-degree plus heat. And even though they get cooler, the court is going to stay hot for a while. Too close for Pereira to overrule. Took another peek at that ball, just, who knows? Ancient history now. If you recall, Cliff, the first game of the second set, Edberg also won at love.
Three breaks of serve against Edberg in the first set, then all Agassi needed in the second was one break. .30-15.
Watch Agassi's return to serve on the backhand side. He catches it way out in front, just sort of whips it cross court with side spin and a bit of top spin. You can only do that if you're playing with two hands. .87 miles per hour.
Not happy with the ball toss, is he, at this point?
No, it's third or fourth time he's teed it up again.
Pete Sampras had to pull out because of a strained hip flexor in his match. Pulled out against Jay Berger. That's how Jay Berger got to the semifinals. Agassi beat Berger in the semis. It was Jean Fleurion who had beaten Becker that Sampras beat in the round before that. Fleurion of France. Edberg holds on, so it is 1 game to love in the third set. He's down 2 sets to love. Agassi trailing love 1 on serve third set. He has 2 sets to love.
Here's the play that Stefan Edberg's going to have to make a lot of. He's going to get into this match. That is the approach behind the serve of Agassi. Positioned himself well for the first volley.
Edberg has made 43 errors in this match so far. In the match that they played 2 weeks ago in the final at Indian Wells, when all 4 sets were history, he had made only 56. So it has not been a good day for the man from Sweden yet.
I was at that match, Cliff, in Indian Wells 2 weeks ago, and his play today, Agassi's play that is, does show that you can learn from your losses if you pay attention. His play was not nearly as slow 2 weeks ago as it is today. Slow meaning not give Edberg too much pace. A lot of spin, keep him off balance. Don't let him get into a groove. Now this is a crucial point for Stefan Edberg. See if he can convert. Oh.
He had chances in early stages of the match.
Had a break point,
didn't he? Couple, in fact.
Right, every time Agassi served, but just couldn't hold on.
Deuce. That'll be wide. That lob over Edberg is a very low percentage play. It has to be hit so perfectly because Edberg's a tall guy with a good reach and he moves backwards and forwards so well. This is another break point.
Break point number 6.
Deuce again. Third break point of the game.
We'll take another peek at that. Edberg heavily sliced backhand just inside the baseline and a deftly placed forehand drop volley.
$179,000 at stake here. And the Lipton title for 1990.
There is no break after the third set, should there be one.
Well, Stefan Edberg nearly got his sportsmanship award, the provoke there, if he had actually hit that ball. However, he showed great restraint. The forehand side of him, both up at net and at the backcourt, has let him down all day today. There he takes a practice swing.
Yeah. $15.30.
Part of it, I think, is that when you're trying to hit a drop shot from Andre Agassi's topspin, and heavy topspin at that, not easy. Ball's going to die on your strings.
It's 30 all. Propeller prop planes flying overhead. You don't hear too many of them anymore. Game point.
Going back to Stefan Edberg, restraining himself from swatting that ball. We'll talk about this And a second, Agassi steps in, very short two-handed backswing, flicks it cross court.
Break point again.
Yes, we'll get to that story in a second. Ooh, almost. Edberg going to change rackets? No. Just toweling off. What I was going to say basically was that, as John McEnroe found out in the Australian Open this year, you get 3 strikes before you default it. It used to be 4. It goes warning, point, and you're out of here.
Do you like it, Arthur? Do you think it's an improvement?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's 3 strikes and you're out. I also like the fact that the time between points is now 25 seconds instead of 30 seconds.
Try and quicken things up a bit. Here. Break point again. That's wide. Be back to deuce. Man, you're looking at not going to have any problem with warnings and things of that kind, because he just plays it straight up and down. Very gentle and pleasant personality. But he has also learned to gut things out on the court, something that he wasn't always able to do.
He used to get down on himself.
Yeah.
And he said his coach, Tony Pickard, coaxed and talked him out of it, and he now has a better, more positive attitude throughout the entire match.
Game point.
Except in this match, he has been down on himself quite often. It'd be interesting to see after the match, if he does lose it, to ask him about that, whether this is the way he used to be.
He holds on. It is 3 games to love. We'll be back with more from the Lipton players after this from our ABC stations. Welcome back to our live coverage from Key Biscayne in Florida of the final of the men's singles at the Lipton. This is Agassi serving, trailing 3 games to love, but ahead by 2 sets to love.
This is the sort of situation that some people thought, Cliff, in past matches, that Agassi would just let the set go and then start afresh in the 4th set.
Oh, yeah.
Well played. A dose of his own medicine. I think Edberg may have been a little bit surprised that his drop shot was as good as it was. Watching this again, drop shot from just inside the baseline. Now Agassi races over to his left. It's away the backhand volley.
Interesting point that, Arthur, that you made a couple of points ago, because you wondered, don't you, whether he's going to just keep trying to hang on here in this set, or whether he is going to just put on the goggles and flippers. Which is, as you said, what he used to do.
Oh, yes,
a couple of
it
years
was so
ago.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yes, there was no other way to explain it than he would just say, well, the hell with this set. But now, let's see.
Break point for a second break to give Edberg 4 love.
Usually, if it's still only 1 break in a set, a player certainly will remain mentally tough throughout. Sometimes if there is a second break, however, it's tough to hang on.
Just wide, I think.
Yes, it's wide on the sideline.
Brilliant shot, but we think it was called wide. Agassi recovering on the other end of the yo-yo for a change and just hits this running forehand top spin shot down the line. Oh, and they're saying it's loose.
Called wide. And now another break point for Edberg. Look at that, 2 out of 9 Edberg on breakpoint chances. Agassi's been much more successful in that department.
Yeah, you see, that was just a throwaway shot. No question about it.
Edberg finding his rhythm on the serve, by the way, after losing 4 of his first 5 service games in the match. He has not lost since then. 5 straight wins on his own serve.
Look, we see Agassi possibly tossing a few points here and there, but there is a case to be made for that on a day like today.
Of course
it's very hot. The crowd doesn't want to see it. They want to see a struggle the entire time, but Agassi may think, look, I want to be fresh for the 4th set.
Sure.
I would strongly disagree on a couple of things here. One, I think it's very difficult to be in the middle of a match and be able to turn on and off your emotions like this. I mean, what happens if Agassi gets to the 4th and goes to click it back on and can't?
We'll find out, maybe. It is 5 games to love Edberg in set 3. We'll be back. This is Agassi serving, trailing 5 games to love, ahead 2 sets to love.
And true to form, I think Agassi is just going to find a way to lose this game.
You called it, Arthur. You said so at about 3 games to love.
3 love, yeah. But only because he's done it in the past.
Right.
And I think he just made the mental decision that, look, I've had it with this set. As Pam says, he better hope he can turn it back on after 2 more points.
Well, it was an interesting point, but no, we have seen him turn it back on so many times.
No question.
I think in his mind he definitely can.
And I don't worry too much about that. Now, the big danger, though, is that you've given this momentum to Stefan Edberg. And maybe just time enough for him to find his rhythm. Now let's see how much of a switch he can make after this game.
Set point. And he steers that one long, purposely maybe. The set is over. Now let's see whether he can indeed, as you said, Arthur, and as Pam wonders, switch it back on.
Ooh, that looks good.
And called good. Agassi's not going to like it, but that's how it'll be. 15 love.
Just, I think, at the outside edge of the line. Yeah.
So that's something you do see Stefan Edberg do quite often. Mishit the serve the other night in the semifinal match against Emilio Sanchez. He mishit 4 or 5, and he just slices it, and actually he's hit some of those serves into the crowd.
Well played up into the sun. Well, at first overhead, I guess he thought he was going to try to hit behind Agassi. Agassi stood his ground, didn't move too much to his right.
30-15. First game, set 4.
Trouble.
You can see it developing.
Oh, yeah, you just see it coming.
30-all. Pat Cash trying to make a comeback here at this tournament. Shell-shocked in the first round. He was out, and then Henri Lacan de France also given a wild card in his efforts to come back after injury, also out. Johan Kriek now of the USA after surgery, also trying to make a comeback, a first-round loser.
Biggest story here, second week in a row, I think, Jennifer Capriati.
Oh, yeah.
When she practiced here, there were bigger crowds than people, seated players who were playing here in the stadium.
Main draw matches.
Everybody wanted to see Jennifer Capriati. I don't blame him. Terrific kid.
Game point. And deuce. Top seed losing the number 1 seed in the men's division, Lendl. He lost to Emilio Sanchez in the surprise. Gabriela Sabatini in the women's. She was the number 1 seed, also losing to a Spaniard, Conchita Martinez. So a big week for Spain here at this
And
championship.
Stefan Edberg, the bottom of his grip has come loose. Of course, it's very hot and humid, and the grip would have gotten wet and come loose.
Sometimes the butt cap comes off, gets wet.
Deuce.
They seem to be much more meticulous about equipment now than in the past.
53 errors for Stefan Edberg after 3 sets.
Good volley.
After all that, Edberg holds on. First game of set 4, down 2 sets to 1. That was the first point of the second game of this 4th set, with Edberg trailing by 2 sets to 1. He has 1 game to love. Agassi serving. 1988 was the year that Edberg won Wimbledon. Oh yeah. That was one of 3 Grand Slam championships that Edberg has won. He's won the Australian twice. That was before it moved to Flinders Park. So all of his 3 Grand Slams wins have come on grass. And by the way, in the semi-final of Wimbledon that year, in '88, he was down 2 sets to love to Miloslav Machir, and came back.
Well, it was just bad luck. Edberg had committed himself to go in and figured he had a better chance at the net than staying back. The ball just tape. It was just a sitting duck. Nothing to do. Ooh, that looked good from here, however. Called out. No reversal by the umpire.
Edberg's not real happy about it, indicating that he thought it was on the line. Watch it.
Take a peek.
That's his third double fault of the match. And there are the unforced errors set by set.
Agassi trying to go to his right and backwards. Couldn't quite make it, but he was very quick.
What an angle. Huh?
Yes. Best backhand volley in the sport, says Tony Roach. Bends that back, comes in and gets a terrific angle on this backhand cross court.
Coming from somebody who knows, in the case of Tony Roach, he had a great backhand volley himself, didn't he?
Oh, I just thought it was one of the great shots in the sport, period. Left-handed.
Oh, you got to put it away. You give Agassi 3 looks at the passing shot, and he's finally going to make it, and he did. This is 30 all at 1 game all in set 4.
Interesting thing here, watch, this ball is going to go down the middle 4 times, but actually, Cliff, Edberg tried to hit it cross court, but couldn't because of the spin on the ball from Agassi's racket. That's why the ball kept trying to go behind Agassi.
Big point at 30 all. Agassi has got Edberg in this position almost every time he serves.
It's been a struggle the entire time for Edberg when he's serving. The last time he did that 2 points ago, he double faulted.
Break point for Agassi. Stefan Edberg started out net play a little dodgy. He was at just above 50% in the first set. That got a little better in the second set, nearly 60%. And in the third set, he was just short of 70%. So his volleying effectiveness has been getting better set by set.
About as vocal as I've heard Agassi on the court, berating himself.
Look at that angle he gets on the pass.
That's his favorite passing shot. The backhand from mid-court in the backhand side of the court. Now Edberg's going to put this in the middle of the forehand court. Not good enough. Let it bounce. Agassi chooses not to come to the net. Now Edberg's going to slide this backhand, and he has to go down the middle again. And in the middle, he can be passed both sides. Paid the price cross court. I think he may serve and stay back on this one.
Andre Agassi has broken in set 4. It's 2 sets to 1 and 2 games to 1 for the man from Las Vegas. Agassi, on the other hand, he won at San Francisco, beating Todd Witzkin in the final. Then he retired in the 3rd round at Philadelphia. That was to Pete Sampras when he got food poisoning. And he was runner-up, of course, to Edberg 2 Sundays ago at Indian Wells.
15-30 love now. Pam Shriver took a little walk over to talk to Nick Bollettieri. What did he say, Pam?
Well, I was going to ask Nick about the theory of the third set, and he said that no, Andre did not just let go of the third set, that Edberg played a better set.
Well, I beg to differ with Nick.
Well, let me finish. I think towards the end that he would agree that Andre was looking forward to the fourth set, but the one thing that Nick mentioned that he felt was hurting Andre was that he was not lobbing as well as he needs to lob in order to close this match out. But then again, he's winning the match with these great passing shots.
Again, next to Bollettieri is Philip Agassi, Andre's brother.
Well, truth be told, Cliff, no coaches want to admit that.
Of course not.
No, I mean, it's obvious and natural that anybody gives up at any time, but no question that was probably what it was. Not probably, it was.
Oh, yeah, terrific shot from Agassi. Holds on. He's got a 3-game-1 lead with a break in set 4, and as you said, Arthur, it's not a bad play anywhere.
No,
I mean, Pancho Gonzalez used to do it all the time.
Crowd doesn't like it, but I think it's a smart play. If you get so much in a hole in a set and say you got a 2-set to love lead, why not? Look, be fresh for the next set.
Well, that was that position, Arthur, that you're talking about that would have been problems for Edberg even if he'd gotten the approach in. Might he try a little drop shot instead of an approach?
I think the best play would be a backhand underspin back cross court, get back into the point. In, called good.
Agassi lifts his arms into the air and the crowd responds. 15 all. Make that.
Now we've got little Laurence Olivier out. Well, he was just about gone, and he hit that perfect backhand lob just inside the baseline, so I guess he felt he deserved a bow.
To make that 15-30. What a chance. 2 points from the second break in set 4.
Did he?
A little late.
Called long.
Yes.
And Edberg doesn't like this one. He really doesn't like this one. He whacked at it as hard as he could. It was very close to the baseline. A hesitation, as you said, on the 50 man in the chair. But there's not going to be any overrule from Paulo Pereira in the chair because as hard as that was hit, there's almost no way to overrule it. Watch.
Well, was it the baseline or the sideline?
Baseline. It looked like it got the line, didn't it?
Tight. It's tight, we can't tell.
Yeah.
But too close.
I'm going to let you be the judge. It's a tough one to call.
No, you can't. We can't, certainly.
It's break point for Agassi.
And that double gives Andre Agassi a second break. It's 4 games to 1, 2 service breaks, and 2 sets to 1. We'll be back with more after this on our ABC station. This is Agassi serving at 4 games to 1 with 2 serve breaks in set 4. He has 2 sets
2-1. From Key Biscayne near Miami, the cruise ship capital of the world, and the stone crab capital of the world too, by the way.
Yes. And all of those months that have an R in them.
A truly monumental delicacy that you can only get in about 2 or 3 places in the world, actually.
But they're shipped all over these days.
Love 30. That's long.
15-30.
Question now, I suppose, after we're talking about Andre Agassi in the third set, is just how much does Edberg want to come back in this set? He has to get the title.
Oh, what a recovery. Edberg had the entire backhand side of the court open and just couldn't slide it over there. Again, Cliff, it was the spin. The ball was coming over with a lot of top spin, even though Agassi had to run for it, and Edberg just could not get the ball wide enough to win the point.
30 all. That's a rather tame forehand, isn't it, from Edberg? I thought, doggone it, we talked about that forehand being a weakness, but when you look at the stats, it's not near as weak as what it sometimes. But that was not a good one, and this is game point.
On that forehand, he didn't even make good connection in the center of the racket. He mishit it.
Agassi holds on. He has 5 games to 1. He's 1 game away from $179,000, and more importantly,
And make no mistake about it, there's no more exciting player to watch play tennis than Agassi.
No, possibly Becker at full cry, but
yeah,
certainly Agassi's got his own army. And they're not all 15-year-old girls either. A lot of fans here. He certainly does, well, I hope he does decide this year to play Wimbledon and straighten out his Davis Cup difficulties with Captain Tom Gorman. And he should be full of confidence for the French-Italian if he should play there.
he is definitely planning on the French. I asked him that.
and as we said earlier, Wimbledon is still a possibility, and you heard that also from Nick Bollettieri when Pam was talking to him earlier today.
And Cliff, a little notice fact, which isn't mentioned much, is that Agassi is still growing. He's, I think, about 5 or 6 pounds heavier than he was last year, stronger. You've got to keep in mind he's still just under 20 years of age. He'll be 20 next month.
That's why there's just 2 match points. And you've got to remember also, Arthur, that this man 2 weeks ago beat Boris Becker. He very nearly, well, I shouldn't say that, but he came very close against Edberg at Indian Wells. And now as the Agassi crowd watch expectantly, their man has 2 match points.
Thank you.
Let Agassi did not hear the call. He does not realize that he has another chance at this point.
Because it wasn't a let.
I guess it was.
I thought I heard it as well.
Pam.
Well, I saw the neck cord judge with his hand in the air, and then Agassi never hesitated, went right to the ad side. Edberg sort of shaked his head as if to say, oh, typical, a net cord called, but then the umpire didn't say anything, so it's just sort of a weird one.
This is deuce.
It was strange. I thought sure it was a let.
What happened then was that Agassi gave him the point. Or
No, the umpire wouldn't allow that. Those days are over.
Edberg has come back from down 2 match points. It is now game point for Edberg. He still trails 5 games to 1, though, and 2 sets to 1.
Finally, Edberg hits an unanswered overhead. As if to say, you guys up there in the booth trying to write me off a little early.
This is
Stick around.
Game point. Edberg, after having faced 2 match points against him, has come back. He's still alive. 5-2, and Agassi will serve when we come back. Agassi serving for the match. 15 love. Two points from the match now. Remember, Transantarctica coming up here on ABC Sports at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon, Eastern Time. And some doubles. Boris Becker in the doubles final, and you'll see Lipton Pugh, Davis Cup for the USA. The doubles final here at the Lipton, and then some interesting, or we hope we'll find some interesting discussions on the new Association of Tennis Professional Tour. Agassi has 2 championship points. He's already had 2.
little bit of a nervous forehand, but absolutely understandable in that situation.
Championship point again. Andre Agassi is moving toward where Nick Bollettieri and his brother, that's his brother, Amy Moss, his girlfriend, he gives her a hug, and then Nick Bollettieri, his coach, in recognition for all of the things that they have done for him and his game. He is the Lipton champion for 1990. $179,000 is the first prize here. And Agassi has now, in subsequent tournaments, beaten Boris Becker, the number 2 player in the world, and now Stefan Edberg, the number 3 player in the world, in the final of the Lipton from Key Biscayne. Some doubles coming up. Boris Becker in the doubles final, and then Leach and Pugh. As you see, Andre Agassi, the winner here in 4 sets. He lost set 3. And some more discussions also on the ATP Tour. We'll be back with more coverage of the Lipton from Key Biscayne in a moment. Stefan Edberg losing to Andre Agassi here in the final of the Lipton International Players Championship for the year. It was a 4-set encounter, 6-1 to Andre Agassi, then 6-4. Stefan Edberg came back in set 3, but it was only temporary. Andre Agassi a winner in 4 sets, and he's at courtside now with Pam Shriver. Pam?
Andre, congratulations. What did you feel about the way you played today?
Well, you know, my plan coming in here was just to hit a lot of balls. I know Stefan likes to come in a lot, and I thought I would pass him, so I figured he'd stay back like he did last week in Indian Wells. And since he was going to stay back, I really just want to make him work as hard as I could, and that was my game plan, just to move around, hustle, and just make him hit a lot of balls, and hope he make a mistake or hope he came in for me to pass.
Well, you played a very consistent match, except for the 3rd set. What happened in that 3rd set?
I think, you know, we got that early break, and, you know, it's tough to keep that level of concentration up, especially in this heat, and I got a little lackadaisical. It wasn't a good set, but, you know, in a finals like this, there's 3 other sets that I'd rather dwell on.
Did you worry whether or not you'd be able to pick up the momentum again in the 4th set?
Not at all, because I felt strong. I felt like I wanted it, and I knew I didn't think he'd be looking forward to a 5th, and I thought if I can make him work real hard in that 4th, win or lose, I thought I was in good shape.
We've been talking a little bit today about whether or not you might be playing Wimbledon. You care to tell us about that one?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. You know, I don't know. Right now, I don't have plans playing because I'm spending my time just getting stronger. My new trainer, Gil, who's back home right now, hopefully watching this, and he's going to be working me hard and getting me to where I want to be down the road. I'm not so concerned with tomorrow as much as I am, you know, in my mid-20s or even a little later.
Well, this Lipton is a Grand Slam format. It's a 128 draw. All the big guns were here. You came out on top. That's got to give you a lot of confidence.
There's always a special feeling about being the last one standing in a tournament, especially with the field that this tournament has had with the Lendls, Beckers, and Edbergs. Just to come out on top, you know, you know, the excitement, I guess, speaks for itself, really.
Well, congratulations on being the last one standing. Cliff? Well, Stefan, bad luck today. What was the difference between today and 2 weeks ago?
Well, I played a little bit worse than last time. I had difficult finding the timing out here today, and of course Andrew played very well to start with, and no, he played a good match today.
Were you having any trouble with your equipment?
No, not at all. I sort of couldn't find a good racket, but it's sort of, you know, when you lose the timing, you wonder what's wrong, and it's usually the feet. I wasn't moving as well today. I thought I was a step behind today, and sort of was a little bit in a rush.
Did you miss not having your coach Tony Pickard here today?
Well, it's hard to say. Sometimes it's a good help, and you know, I managed a couple of weeks without him here. It would have been nice to have him here.
Well, did you realize that today, if you had won, you would have taken over number 2 spot in the computer. Do you think about that?
Well, I knew about it, and I thought it would be a tough match going into the final here. I knew I had to work very, very hard to win today, and no, it wasn't good enough today.
Well, still, coming in second out of 96 is not too bad. Back to you, Cliff.
Thank you very much, Pam. Becker and Cassio Motta will play in the doubles against Leach and Pugh here on ABC this afternoon. A match that we think you'll enjoy seeing as you see Andre Agassi, the winner here today in the men's singles final over Stefan Edberg. We'll be cutting it live to Minnesota for an update on the Antarctica expedition. So there is a lot more here, including a discussion on the ATP Tour, the new 1990 ATP Tour, and how things look for the future of that tour. All here on ABC. Coming up. We'll be back. Andre Agassi over Stefan Edberg. It's been a very good couple of 3 weeks for Agassi, hasn't it? The man, Arthur, who did so well down at Indian Wells, he came very close to beating Stefan Edberg there, and he beat Becker in the semifinals. Now he's beaten the number 3 player in the world. I mean, he is really hot at this point.
Yes, he's got to be bustling with confidence. I think, for me, the most important thing is his record in 3 out of 5 set matches. He had a tough 5-set loss to Boris Becker last year in the Davis Cup after losing the first, after winning the first 2 sets.
Yeah.
He finally won a 5-set encounter against Jimmy Connors at the U.S. Open. This would have been a tough one. Plus, he lost to Edberg just 2 weeks ago in Indian Wells.
Well, going into this match, we both said that we thought Edberg was going to win it. We have to, I guess, take second place in that department. What happened?
Well, I would have made the same prediction had I had to do it over again, but I think basically he just outplayed Edberg today, and he had a game plan, and he stuck to it.
The conditions were a little better for him than in Indian Wells, and he suspected that they might be. Here at sea level, the conditions are a little heavier, so that Edberg's ball cannot get quite as high, and that was also a factor, I believe, because he returned serve very well, and of course his passing shots were superlative.
Yes, it was. He really had snap today. He was on top of the ball. I think the match he had 2 weeks ago, he learned a lot. That's all there is to it. And he put that to use today in devising a game plan that worked perfectly.
Well, he's picking up a trophy or something down there at the stadium court. Let's go down and hear it.
Trainer Gil, and this one is a start of a lot, Gil. And I just like to thank you for getting me in shape enough to come out here and play such long, hard tennis in the sun. So special thanks to him. Also to just to you guys for coming out here and being so supportive. You know, whether it's for me or against me, it's still great for tennis. We appreciate it, and I want to cut this short because the Rebels, UNLV Rebels, are going to be on pretty short. So no. But seriously, thanks to you guys for making it as exciting for all of us. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some people that we would like to recognize, people that make it possible for us to have this tournament.
So there it is, Andre Agassi again, the winner of this championship. And one more time, just a quick thought on how things turned around for him, Arthur, and how he was able to beat Edberg. That everybody here, not only us, but everybody here who was transmitting their television pictures all over the world was saying the same things.
You're right. If we had to put our finger on it, I would say that he slowed the pace down. No speed to Stefan Edberg, pulled him very wide, and the passing shots made the difference. At the top of the show, I said if Edberg's effectiveness at the net were less than 55%, he'd be in trouble. It wound up at 57, but still, he couldn't pull it out.
Let's take a look one more time at match point here with Andre Agassi in this final match of the Lipton Championship. This was it. $179,000 at stake, and doing what he did so well all along in the match, staying back and hitting those extraordinary ground strokes of his. In 4 sets, Andre Agassi's arms in the air in delight at what has happened here and during our live coverage from Key Biscayne. We'll be back with more coverage of doubles action here from Key Biscayne after this word from your ABC stations.